Well, Kingdom Builders Academy. I'm Jillian Forte, Director of Operations for KBA, and I am excited. Today is Monday. It is August 24th, and I have a very special guest with me today. We have a fellow Inner Circle member whose name is Aaron Antillon, and Aaron is a disc certified master coach, and I'm excited because Aaron, we're going to dive into all things personality. For everybody who is watching that might not know, DISC is a personality assessment, and I know that you are going to give us all the behind the scenes, share with us a little bit about your story, why you joined Kingdom Builders Academy, Inner Circle, and really how the DISC has changed your life, your business, and how it can help us too. So welcome, Aaron. I'm so excited to have you with us.
It's great to be with the Kingdom Builders Circle, Kingdom Builders Academy. Thank you so much. And I want to thank our founder, Tamara Lowe, and her great president of Kingdom Builders, Zach. And they've already added so much value to my life in the short time that I've been a part of this community. And the way that this all transpired with me is that back in April of 2006, my wife and I, we planted a church called Legacy Builders Church here in what I consider the great Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. In 2010, I founded a media buying agency called Legacy Media, where I represent ministries in purchasing television program time. And so I was involved in both business and ministry. And so the frustration began there. And it was on my 40th birthday that I was very unsettled. And I asked myself this question, and I look it up. It's the number one self-reflection question that is asked. Who am I? What am I here for? What is my purpose? And I went and I looked, Jillian, I literally went and looked in the mirror, and I asked myself this question, and I said it like this. I said, Aaron, I even pointed at myself. I said, Aaron, if you continue on the road that you're going, will you arrive at your desired destination?
Wow.
Now, before I give you the answer, let me premise this. At this point in my life, I can say there was not any unconfessed sin that I was aware of. I wasn't cheating. I wasn't stealing. I wasn't doing stuff, in secret and hidden. I just knew that there was more that God had for me.
Well, I wanted to just say right there that I would say a lot of people, Aaron, who are watching this particular interview can relate to that. And, I oftentimes will phrase that as the crisis of purpose. The crisis of purpose, where we have that moment, and for you, it was your 40th birthday, but it's that moment where on the inside, we have wrestled with and are awakened to, we are made for more, right? And so it's interesting that oftentimes it isn't so much asking, am I made for more, or do I have a purpose, but what is my purpose? Why
what am I made for?
Here? And I absolutely love that you're so transparent about that many people in their lives that have had, decades long career, successful marriages, they've got 2.5 kids, a dog and a gerbil, at some point in their life, they're saying the same thing that you've said. So I'm excited to hear, what did you do with that moment? How does this story take the next turn?
The way that it took the next turn is that I answered myself, and I was honest and truthful with myself. And I answered myself and I said, no. Now, give it that I was raised in a Christian home. My grandparents were my pastors. My dad and mother were their associate pastors. But my dad taught me this. He taught me, and he said, Aaron, use your gifts, use your talents, and bluff your way through life.
Wow.
And so in every facet of life, I was taking shortcuts. And one of the things that I learned from later on a mentor of mine was this: the longest distance between 2 points is a shortcut.
Hmm.
And I was taking shortcuts and I was having to rebuild, and they give you a quick fix, but I was having to rebuild everything and reestablish everything. So when I looked at myself in the mirror and I answered myself honest and truthfully, and I said, I won't. No, I won't. And we're pastoring a church, we're building a business. Both are very good things, and we didn't have any problem drawing people.
Mm-hmm.
But what was happening is that the same people that we were drawing into our church, the same clients that were coming to be for us to represent them in business, were not renewing, and they were disconnecting. So client retention was tough.
Mm-hmm.
The church was having a revolving door that as quick as they came in was as quick as they came out. And then the other facet is that there was a disconnection between my wife and I. I married my wife because of her opposite personality style, because one of the things is that, as we know, that our helpmate is to complete us. And so the opposite personality style that I married her for to complete me was now the opposite personality style that I was attacking. And
Wow.
one of the truths that I've learned is that opposites attract, but then opposites also attack.
Wow. Opposites attract and they also attack.
They also attack.
Quite the combination you've got there, my friend. That's quite the
And
combination.
and look at this. Whenever we marry someone, and I've done thousands of marriage assessments, 90% of the people who get married for the first time, they marry their opposite, but then 50% of those marriages end in divorce
Sure.
because of the disconnect.
Right.
Because one of the things that we believe is that everyone does communicate, but very few people connect.
Right. Right.
So on this discovery, this led me to a place that I got connected, and I come to an opportunity to hear some truth. And this truth of DISC and understanding DISC, I would say in my life is the second most valuable truth that I have ever encountered, only
Real.
second to the Word of God.
Wow. Well, I'm excited for you to share with us about DISC. Now, let's just pause right there for a moment. Okay, so let's
Okay,
just imagine that there are a number of people who are watching this interview,
sure.
Aaron, and maybe they've only heard of DISC in passing. They know just a tiny little bit. Can you give us in short form what does DISC stand for and what is it actually?
The DISC is DISC, and that represents 4 basic personality styles. And I'm going to show you, for those of you who are watching, if you're able to draw a circle, I hope that this might be a good time to pull out a pen and a pad and just draw a circle.
Sure.
And then divide the circle in half horizontally. So, Jillian, you and I are just starting to learn about each other, and we're starting to become aware of each other. And one thing that we recognize is that everyone's wired differently.
Right.
And so, if you and I are looking to connect, or if maybe you're a prospect, a client prospect, or maybe we're looking to be in relationship, a business type of relationship, I would either identify this or I would ask you the question, and this is a question that we would ask. And here's the first question. Are you a little bit more outgoing, Jillian, or are you a little bit more reserved? Now, before you answer that, let's pause here, because many times we think of, well, it depends. It depends on my environment.
Mhm.
It depends on how I feel. It depends on where I'm at.
Right.
But what I'm asking is, I want to understand the very best version of you. So, Jillian, go ahead and answer that question. Are you a little bit more outgoing, or are you a little bit more reserved?
I would say I'm a little bit more outgoing.
I already
There's
knew
probably a
that.
little bit of a dead giveaway there, but yes, I'm a little bit more on the outgoing side, my friend.
So my friend, as we're discussing this, the first question, and you divide that circle, and you would put on the top of the circle outgoing, and you would put on the bottom of the circle reserved. Not that outgoing is better than the other; they're just different.
Different,
Outgoing isn't better than reserved, and reserved isn't better than outgoing. They're just different.
right?
So outgoing people tend to speak and move with high levels of energy. So it's a obvious giveaway that both you and I are outgoing. We tend to
Right.
speak a little bit faster. Our gestures and our facial expressions have more passion than a reserved individual. Outgoing individuals, and you could put this to the side, maybe if you want to draw a line outside of outgoing individuals, that describes their pace, their motor. Outgoing and reserved, it describes their pace or their motor.
Okay, that's good
The
to know.
motor of an outgoing individual will sound like this. We wake up charged. We wake up ready to
No
conquer the
caffeine
world.
necessary, right? We're ready.
No
We're
caffeine necessary. Typically, we wake up early.
Mm.
So we're fast paced, we're energetic, and we're enthusiastic. Our focus, look at this. Our focus is to talk things out. Now, those that are watching, I'm sure that they're not surprised to identify that you and I are both outgoing. But on the flip side, those who are more reserved tend to speak a little bit more quietly
Hmm.
and less forcefully. Their gestures and facial expressions seem more guarded than the expressions of outgoing individuals.
Hmm.
Words that describe those that are more reserved are slower pace,
Hmm.
cautious, concerned. So outgoing tend to focus on talking things out, while reserved individuals focus on thinking things through.
So Aaron, would you say, I just want to make sure, so someone who is maybe more extroverted, they process, I want to make sure I'm hearing you right, they process out loud. So whether it's in a relationship, whether it's conflict, making a decision, trying to gauge what they're feeling, they process externally. And
That's right.
someone who's more introverted or reserved, they have an internal processing system. They're thinking things through. Is that
They
correct?
think things through. That's absolutely, absolutely. So if we were to divide that circle, on top of the circle would be outgoing, on the bottom of the circle would be reserved. You'd say, what's the point? I'm getting to the picture. I'm wanting to paint this picture for you. So just stay with me. So
Absolutely.
then let's divide the circle in half vertically. So we have outgoing and reserved. And the first question that you ask whenever you're looking to connect with someone, because remember this, everyone communicates, but very few connect. So if I yell at you and say, Jillian, we've got to get this done and get it done now, I just communicated, but I may not have connected.
Right.
And if I say, Jillian, we got to get things done, let's get it done now, I communicated, but I may have missed the connection. So outgoing individuals, whenever you're connecting with the outgoing individuals, you remember that outgoing individuals are fast paced, energetic, and enthusiastic, while reserved individuals are a little bit more slower paced, they're cautious, and they're more concerned. So
Perfect.
when we divide the circle now vertically, now the on this side of the circle, there's task-oriented individuals, and on the other side of the circle, there's people-oriented individuals. So the second question that we identify or we ask, I've been in some settings and some people say, well, that's kind of awkward that you would ask someone that question. Are you more outgoing or reserved? See, a lot of times you can identify this by the way that they walk into a meeting, the way that they walk through the room, the way that they write an email, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. They're probably a little bit more what?
I just have to confess, I am infamously known for exclamation points and smiley faces and emojis in my text messages and and I have to share with you, I'll just confess, like when I'm texting, I can't send it without sending the emojis because it's like, I want you to know what I'm feeling. I want you to feel the enthusiasm or the energy level. And when I get text messages back, or emails for that matter, and I feel like this is exciting, this should be, overwhelming, we should really have a greater whelm factor here. And when I see that it's not, I go, oh, well, I wonder what's wrong with them. Are they okay? Is everything fine? Are they having a rough day? Is there a problem? Are they upset? Maybe they're tired. So it is interesting how, as an extrovert, as we've identified, Aaron, I tend to read the signals back through my lens.
Right, right. And you see, in building a church, building a business, building a marriage, and building a family, we are all wired differently.
Right.
And I would say this, that I suffered a lot of losses while building a church, not because my heart wasn't right. I remember, Jillian, and this is a little side note, I was doing some leadership training with my staff at our church, and I was teaching a little bit on this whenever I first came into the discovery of DISC. And I asked, if I have ever hurt your feelings and if I have ever offended you, raise your hand. And I had people shoot their hand. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, now I'm offended. And I went and I said, no, what?
Like, rewind the tape. I wish I wouldn't have asked that out loud.
And I went and I said this, I don't know what I did, but I promise you, I never intended to offend anyone. I thought that my passion and my desire for results and my desire to push people to be their very best would be enough. But know what? There was a disconnect because I did not understand how people were wired.
Wow.
So in connecting with individuals, we first identify, is the person that I'm intending to connect with outgoing or reserved? That's the first question. The second one, remember we split it right down the middle vertically, is, am I more task-oriented or am I more people-oriented? Now, outgoing and reserved, if you're more reserved and I'm more outgoing, it's not that difficult for me to slow my pace down a little bit, and it's not that difficult for me to soften my tone.
Sure.
That isn't too difficult to do. We see that 10 to 20% of conflict arises over the disconnect between those who are outgoing and reserved. But however, the big disconnect that arises is between those that are more task-oriented and more people-oriented.
Really?
And I'm getting to DISC. The reason is because, look at this, task-oriented individuals focus more on the job to be done, right, and the goal to be accomplished. While people-oriented individuals, their focus is on helping others, sharing, caring, and relationships.
Right.
There's a big disconnect there. The task-oriented individuals are thinking of procedure, process, projects. Their focus is on getting things done. They're not very influenced, or I would say we're not very influenced by the opinion of others. We can stand on our own, whether you like it or not. I remember one of the things that I would say to my team in church that I was leading: we're going forward with or without you. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to move this forward. We're going to build this church. And we're going to see God's kingdom
without you,
with or without you.
And you're hoping that this is going to motivate the masses, that they're going to say, hoorah, let's do it.
You know who is motivating? About 10% of the church.
Right. So I see that, you're making a distinction, Aaron, between more of the producer-oriented, less emotionally attached versus what sounds like people who might be more relationship centric.
Right.
Some people are more results driven. Some people are more relationship driven. And that, it sounds like, has an incredible impact on what motivates or demotivates them.
Exactly. Exactly. Today I want to give. So whenever we divide the circle in half horizontally, we have on the top outgoing, we have on the bottom reserved. Whenever we divide it in the middle, we have those that are more task oriented and have more those that are people oriented,
Right.
relationships, sharing, caring. Those who focus more on the emotions, they focus more on the opinion of others and how they feel. So we divided the circle into, now we've divided it in half both ways, and we have 4 quadrants. So if you're following along and if you have the circle drawn on a piece of paper, then you have on the upper left hand side of the circle, you have the outgoing task-oriented individual.
Mm-hmm.
On the upper right-hand part of the circle, you have the outgoing people-oriented individual. Then on the bottom right hand of the circle, you have the reserved people-oriented individual. And then on the bottom left, you have the reserved task-oriented individual. So I'm trying to look at this the way it's backwards on the screen, but the upper left is your D, the dominant style. The words that describe that individual are dominant, determined, driven, even demanding. They have basic needs. And whenever you intend to connect with these individuals, and may ask, well, why in the world would you ever want to connect with these individuals? Because these individuals, they're motivated for results. They're the high producers. They're the ones that are going to drive your company. They're the ones that are going to be probably your biggest donors to your organization. If you're working a nonprofit, or maybe you're ministering at a church, they're probably going to be your biggest donors, because they're driven for results. But their basic needs, look at this, are challenges, choices, and control. Hmm. Everyone communicates and very few people connect. Mm-hmm. And in order for you to effectively connect with those individuals, you have to give them challenges, choices, and control. That's my predominant personality style. So the higher I am driven for results, the more that I need challenges, the more that my priority is for challenges, choices, and control.
Now, what's interesting about that, and I'm sure, Aaron, you'll share this, but to me, just from hearing what you've shared so far, which is really fascinating, I would imagine that if you are mainly the kind of D dominant personality type, mm-hmm. You're a driver, good at making, fast-paced decisions, really results outcome oriented, that the higher you are, maybe it sounds like the lower you might be in your ability to connect on the relationship side, especially with the story that you just shared with us, which is interesting, because when I personally hear that, what comes to mind, Aaron, is any strength overextended can become a weakness. And
yes.
So, if these are the people that are leading nonprofits, leading ministries, organizations, and if people that are watching would say, I'm a D, I am decisive and dominant, I can be demanding, I'm really confident, I'm results and, kind of production oriented, that they might not realize that the word that goes with D might also be damage, because it sounds like there could be some damage that could be done to relationships along the way as a leader if we don't know the value of connection, which you just so beautifully were talking about.
That's so true. In our training that we provide, and we certify leaders who want to go through this program, and there's so much. It's a 2-day intensive training. And one of the things that we identify is out of control, under control. These are the way that D's are in their sweet spot, and out of control, how they can be damaging. But the word that we see that oftentimes is the damaging part is that D's can be defiant. That's the word that we use, defiant. How do you identify a D? I'm glad you asked the question. D's, they may challenge you. They may challenge you, and they may challenge you with a loud tone. D's use direct and abrupt tones. Whenever you're looking to effectively connect with an outgoing, task-oriented individual, the best advice that I can give you is to be confident, be brief, and be gone.
Yes, I think
those are the 3 B's. Be confident, be brief, be gone.
I heard said one time, I heard it said, be bright, be brief, be gone. Those are the 3 simple things. If you want to be punchy and precise, get in and get out. That'll be the most effective way to communicate and make your point, and your greatest chance of winning them over. Right? Yes. They do not do well with like all the details, weighing them down with, all the subtext and the reasons why. It's like, get the bottom line out, lead with that, and do a good job with that. Have high energy if you can, and then get out of there.
Even whenever you're selling to them.
Right.
When they decide quickly, and the reason that they decide quickly is that they're wanting to solve a specific problem. Right. Let me give you a story. I just this past Friday, I met a new friend who is a movie producer, and he was looking to connect with one of my friends that played football for the Dallas Cowboys, who has done movies. Mm-hmm. And so I set up a Zoom call just like this, and I talked to my buddy, my new friend, and I told him, okay, this is the former Dallas Cowboys personality style. If you want to effectively connect with him, be brief, be confident, get to the point, be gone. Don't give him all the details. If he wants the details, he'll ask for it later on. This guy went and talked and gave his backstory. He talked for a very long time and just went on, and he never got to the sales pitch. And the guy that's former Dallas Cowboy, he's now coaching a college football team, and says, I'm sorry, we have meetings, I have to go.
Right. So
he missed out on the opportunity.
Yeah, he missed his moment. So I want to make sure that everyone watching can see us move on, because I don't want to miss out on the I, the S, and the C. So yes. In the spirit of transition, share with us about the I-type personality, Aaron.
The I-type personality is the outgoing, people-oriented individual. This would be someone like you. You're the life of the party. You're the life of the party. You make everything impacting.
Friends, connect with people. I'm relationship centric. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Here's the basic needs of the I personality style. And this is a game changer. And I say this just as we as human beings need oxygen, and just like fish needs water, each of the 4 personality styles have basic needs. The I's basic needs is recognition, approval, and popularity. If you're looking to connect with I's, which are going to be the gatherers, they're going to be the ones to keep things together. I was training an organization in Louisville, Kentucky, and there were individuals there that had been working for 35, 40 years. And I asked them, what are you still doing at this company? And they said, oh, well, we still come to work because of a lady named Peaches. And guess what personality style Peaches would be?
And what a great name. It couldn't be better.
It matched her. And they said, we come to work because of Peaches, because she makes everything fun, enjoyable. It's so fun to come to work.
She's the connector. She's the heart.
She's the connector
of the organization.
Yep. And so you identify the I personality style by those who are more amusing, big smile, very warm and very friendly. But one of the things is that I's can often be distracted. They get distracted easy. Ooh, the birdie. Remember we said the blind spot, that each of the 4 personality styles has a blind spot.
Yeah.
The D's, their blind spot is being defiant. The I's can often be illogical. I'm not calling you names, Jillian.
And
Don't
I'm
get
not
upset with
taking
me.
offense, Aaron.
But the I's can often be illogical. See, one of the things that we teach is that we are a blend of all 4 personality styles.
Sure.
My personality blend is a DI, dominant, as well as the inspiring, their inspirational personality style. Whenever you're selling to them, they decide impulsively. And the reason why they buy is that they want to look good. Even the vehicles that they buy.
Interesting.
Probably a shiny red sports car. Something that's going to stand out. Something that's going to look good.
Interesting.
And so whenever you're selling to them, and I've learned this, we do a training specifically on how to sell to all 4 personality styles.
Sure.
And one thing that I's love is I's love to know who else has bought your program. So whenever you're selling to an I typically don't abide by this, but selling to I's I do, I name drop. And I'll say, Jillian is someone just like you, and she too has bought into our program.
Right.
Oh, really? And so they're not big researchers. They're not big researchers. They have a team that does the research, but they typically buy because it's an emotional buy.
Very interesting. Okay.
When you're selling to them, be positive, energetic, give them the recognition and the credit. But yes, let's move on. So we have
what I love about this too, what I think is so interesting, Aaron, is that what I hear you saying is that the idea is that you and I are not alike.
right.
Okay. Now, and in this scenario, we could even just for the sake of this conversation, let's say we have very different personality assessments according to DISC. That the goal for you to sell me is not for you to come into my world and to use your personality type, but for you to know the art of selling is via the connection in relationship, which will work best when you can come into my world in and out and speak my language.
Speak your language.
Right, that we understand how to adapt based on what we assess. And so when we see that someone is an I, that they're, outgoing, fun-loving, energetic, enthusiastic, vibrant, that we would then be able to adapt based on our assessment and to connect with them relationally so that they are able to engage with us. And I think that's great because whether you are in business or whether you are in a church setting or in personal relationships, obviously we have kids and they all have personality types that develop over time, that, we want to be able to go in and out of their world where they're at so that they feel that we're connecting with them rather than forcing who we are upon them. I mean, it's very much like what you shared at the top of our interview, that one of the number one things I think that can destroy a relationship is poor communication.
Yeah.
And that probably, I would, I'm learning based on our time together here that so much of it is because we naturally communicate how we're wired. And we don't really give much thought to the person who's on the receiving end of maybe that dominant personality. Or maybe, for me, I can say this in all transparency, that there are plenty of times when I have to dial down my energy. That, I'm naturally like a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, thanks to, your reference, that I come into a room, I've got a lot of energy, I'm very enthusiastic, and I'm moving quickly. And so sometimes it does mean to bring down my energy, to slow down my pace, to really kind of consider someone who's a little bit more introspective, maybe a little slower pace, more methodical. So there's a lot of value to what you're saying. So I'm excited about that. So share with us about S. Let's talk about what is the mysterious S personality on the disc profile, Aaron?
Okay, that's great, and everything that you said was very valuable because we have to leave it to ourselves. We have to put the weight on ourselves and not depend on others to connect with us. And that was one of the big transformational moments in my life. And I said, "No, what? I'm going to make the necessary adjustments, whether the individual or the individuals ever make any kind of changes or not."
Right.
See, that repaired and that restored my marriage.
Wow.
That repaired and restored my ministry. That repaired and restored my clients, and it changed my business
Right.
because of this. Like I said, it's been the number two truth that has changed my life, and I'm the better because of this.
I love
And
it.
so we have the outgoing task oriented,
Yep.
we have the outgoing people oriented. Then
Yep.
on the bottom right hand side of the circle is the reserved people oriented individuals.
And
Now
is
let me say, it's the S. It's the
okay.
S type. The S stands for supportive.
Hmm.
So let me say this, and this is just some additional value. Those that the D and the S, they're across catty corner. Those are the most difficult relationships to connect with because they require the most adjustments. The I and the C require the most adjustments. They're total opposites. So myself being a high D and people in our church that were high S's, one of the things that I did in disconnecting is that I didn't see the value in them.
Hmm.
I didn't see the value. And one of the perspectives that changed in my life, and it's part of my core values now, is I say that, and I have an acrostic that what I do is I lead. The L stands for I lead others to Christ. The E is I embrace diversity.
Mhm.
Then I premise that and say, no, what? I'm not talking about cultural diversity because that's been a part of me. I don't have to say that I embrace cultural diversity
Mhm.
because I'm married interculturally, and everything that I do is interculturally. One of the things that I embrace diversity is I embrace the diversity of other personality styles.
Right. Right.
That was the biggest transformation that had to take place in my life.
Sure.
And I had to change that because the S is a supportive style.
And how would you
They're
describe the S? What are some other
very
adjectives you would use to describe it?
support, supportive, structured. One of the things that they really value is that they really value appreciation. Their basic needs are appreciation, security, assurance. They speak in very warm tones. They're very friendly. Many times they're just really good listeners.
Hmm.
Not unless they feel really comfortable with you will they begin to express their ideas.
Good to
They're
know.
very secure. They value security. Sometimes they're very slow paced, very soft spoken.
Hmm.
And so, whenever you're looking to connect with the S personality style, see, one of the things that I like to say is that S is strong in customer service.
Hmm.
So, my D was bringing people into the church. We were winning the lost. God was using us, miracles, signs, and wonders. But our follow up, we didn't have any S's because of Aaron, because I didn't value the supportive style. And
Wow.
as quick as they were coming in, they were going out
Wow.
because I didn't have that part of my team
Right.
in place.
Right.
I was running them away.
Hmm.
And so they're the supportive style. They're your customer support. They're the ones that are going to ensure that everyone is taken care of. They value relationships, sharing, caring. They're
Well,
the heart. They're really the soft heart. The I is the lively heart of the organization, and the S is the soft heart of the organization.
I see. Wow, that's very interesting. So I could see that it would be very easy for a D type personality to
Yeah.
easily overlook the value of an S in the organization, because it's like, well, what are you doing? Well, what are you
Yeah.
doing? What are you doing? What's the outcome of that? What was the
Right.
result of that? But it's interesting, as you were kind of referencing Peaches, the concept that this person has their finger on the pulse of the
Yes.
people, that they really understand the hearts and the nature, the essence of an organization, and how to bring people together, how to keep people together, how to effectively build a team that cares for one another, that can withstand the test and the storms of life that every organization will face, the mountaintops and the valley low. So that's very interesting. So that only leaves us with one left, Aaron. And I want to know all about the C.
And the C, they tend to believe that they're the strongest, that they're the smartest, because the C, they really value excellence and they really value quality answers. They really value the structure, and the C stands for cautious, cognitive, careful. It could also stand for critical thinking. One of the things, whenever I have some valuable C's on my team working in my businesses now. And one of the things that I emphasize to them is, I need you to be critical thinking, but I don't need criticism. Bring solutions. It's funny, because if we were at a gun range and if the D had the gun, the D's motto would be ready, fire, 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 aim. And the C would be ready, aim, aim, aim. And they're waiting until they have the perfect shot in order to fire. So the outgoing moves quickly while the reserve moves a little bit slowly. Whenever you're selling to the C, what they want is that they want to know the quality of the product. Whenever you're forming a sales presentation to the C, you're making a cold call, you're looking to connect with the C, they're going to ask why. They're going to ask why. And I used to be intimidated by that why, because one of the things that I would feel is that in their approach, all they were wanting to do was put a hole, or to show me how illogical or how offset that my presentation was. But they're really asking why. Whenever they're under control, they're really asking the question why, because they want to know the quality on how to effectively serve and how to bring the excellence that you truly desire.
And it sounds like C would also stand for like clarity, right?
Clarity, that would be a great word.
You need to have a clear view of what it is that you're selling, or what it is that you're communicating, or what is the desired outcome, because of the way that they internally process the information, which I can see very, very clearly myself why the D could also, it sounds like, potentially might be at odds at times with a C in terms of pace, because a D wants to go fast and break things. Like, let's do it. Don't tell me about your labor pains, as my sister Coach Tam would say, show me a baby. Where like the C is cognitive, they're cautious, they want clarity, they want to
look at this.
Through.
Zach Lowe would be the C. His questions on gaining clarity, I was like, whoa. I said, kind of slow down. And as a high I, as a high D and a high I, the I is like, let's get it done. Let's start. Let's do it now. The bright lights. And the C is like, hey, let's slow down. Let's get clarity. I want to know the details. Let's put the details all in place. And see, what this does is that this paints a really good picture, because many times like-minded attracts like-minded. The law of attraction. You attract who you are. And many times we have, in order to build an effective team, we have to be very intentional. And we have to push ourselves aside and realize that we're going to need to build a well-rounded team with D's that are going to get the deal, I's that are going to make it bright, shiny, and make it, that are going to make it shine, S that's going to do the follow-up and support you and be the voice, because the voice of reason isn't the D.
Right.
That's a deal maker. The voice of reason is the S, and then the C puts all the details together in order to ensure that all the regulations and all the safety and all the measurements are taken precisely. Their motto, the C's motto, is measure twice and cut once. The I is what? Measure? I forgot to measure.
We forgot that step.
I forgot that step. And so,
yeah,
in building a family, in building a church, in building a business,
yeah,
or whatever it is, connecting with individuals, we ask ourselves these two questions. Is the individual that I'm looking to connect with more outgoing or reserved? Then the other one is, are they more task oriented? Are they focused on getting the job done, or are they focused on connecting and talking things out and connecting with people?
right.
And then once you identify those two questions, you divide the circle, and you can get a clearer picture of their predominant personality style, D, I, S, and C. And I hope that I've given you enough
Yes, you
to
have.
be able to connect with
I was going to say
others.
we went full circle there, and I love what you are sharing, Aaron. That whether it's in business, in ministry, or in our personal lives, it is worth the investment of time to understand these different personality types, the D, the I, the S, the C, and to recognize not only what they mean, but what we are, and then people around us to see what they are. Because the sooner that we are more clear on their personality type, the sooner we can understand how to best communicate with them in a way that is effective for building relationship. Just like you said, that sometimes we're communicating, but we've completely failed to connect. And I would say that all of the personality types, in their own way, each of them wants to connect. And so, regardless of whether you are a D, an I, an S, or a C, make sure that you take the time to look at the people around you, look at the team you've established, look at who you're married to and your kids, get to know them, see where they fall into, those 4 quadrants, and then maybe ask yourself, and I know that there's probably a lot of, great resources out there where people can learn more about the DISC personality profile and see how they might best communicate. But we do know this, Aaron. We know that for you and your life and your ministry and your business, it was a game changer. It transformed. It saved your marriage. It brought probably brand new life and resilience and restoration to your church, and even in your business. And so, what an incredible gift, first of all, that God gave us all different personalities, right? We get the job done, not based on one person, but, we were never meant to be islands unto ourselves, Aaron. We were meant to work together. We were meant to be in relationship.
Yes.
And God doesn't want everyone to be exactly alike, clearly. Because if he did, we'd just have, a room full of D's, and there'd be no C's or, no I's or S's in sight. But, God really expresses who he is in each and every one of us. And that's what's so incredible about being made in the image of God. And I love that. So I want to thank you so much, Aaron, for being
Absolutely.
This was so enlightening for me. I love it. Now when I'm meeting people, I'm going to be thinking about those 4 quadrants and where they fall into, and ask myself, how can I best connect and communicate with them today? So
here's the thing that we, even whenever individuals take an assessment, and I'll look at their assessment and I'll say this, that is a great personality style.
Yeah.
And I will go around the room and they said, wait a minute, you said that to everyone. I said, and that's absolutely true.
Yes.
Because it uniquely describes you and the way that God uniquely created you. And so not one is better than the other. They're different. And that is a great personality style, whatever your
I
personality
love it.
style is.
I love it. Well, Aaron, thanks for talking with us today. I hope that everyone in the
Absolutely.
Kingdom Builders Academy community that was able to watch this interview got a great takeaway. Hey, if you're watching this, I would love to know, what's your personality style? So comment below and let us know. Are you a D, an I, an S, a C? Tell us what your takeaway is. We would love to hear it. Thank you so much, Aaron. So appreciate getting to spend some time with you. And maybe I'll have
Sure.
to follow it up and take an assessment of my own and really see where I fall on the charts. But I've loved hearing your story. So thrilled that incredible people like you are a part of the inner circle here at Kingdom Builders Academy, and love partnering with you. Thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
You too, Aaron.